Hacktoberfest is coming and everyone's talking about how to contribute to open source. But what about the maintainers? How can they maintain their projects so they can get more contributions and more valuable contributions? And so in this video, we're going to talk about how you can do that. And we're going to use one of the GitHub projects as an example, but by all means, it is not perfect, but hopefully it's a good example. And I look forward to your contributions on making it better. But before we get into that, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe below if you haven't already, so you can get notified every time I post a video and go live. So behind me, we have got the GitHub link-free project, which is the open source alternative to Linktree. You've probably heard all about it, but we're not going to talk about the deployed version, but we talk about how we make it inclusive for everybody. Well, number one, we have a README. So make sure you have a README in your project, and you're never going to get this right first time. By getting people to contribute, you're going to make it better. What I always say is, if someone can't understand your project, if someone can't contribute to your project, if someone doesn't know how to get started, then there isn't something wrong with them, there is something wrong with your project. And what you can do is you can say to them, well, have a look, let me know what you think, and then you can work with them to make it better. And yes, that's an investment in the person. Yes, that's an investment in the project. But trust me, it will pay you back 10 times because you'll make it better for the next person. Some of these files have maybe, 50, 100 people contributing to them. And if you all make kind of one line or one word improvements over time, that's going to get so much better and better. And therefore you get less questions, but you get better questions. And in fact, I love questions and I love automation. And it's not because I want to automate things to get less collaboration, but it's because we want to get better collaboration. Talking about automation, you can go to any project that's using GitHub Actions, go to the .github folder, and you could have a look at our workflows. And these are the things that we're automating. Maybe all of them don't make sense for you. The popular ones that should make sense for most projects is a build one. I think that's really, really important. Make sure your project builds, and that's fine. And therefore people know if they've made a mistake in their pull request. Run linter on that as well. You could run prettier. Anything that you have that have a command for, running automated tests and so forth, run those on a GitHub action with a few lines of YAML config. It's actually not that hard to do. We have a community one where we collect some basic stats of our community so we can draw some graphs and put them on real-time maps and all those sorts of interesting and fun things. Try and deploy also on when you're merging into the main branch, but actually a step in between that is you probably want to create a release. So every time something is merged into main, you can create a release from it. And this is all automated from this GitHub action. You can basically copy and paste it if you're using an NPM project. Don't try and go and spam your repo link in all these Discords and all these places. No one likes spam. If someone sees it, they just kind of skip over it. But if you go and help people with the technology that you're using in your project, when they say, hey, do you know any projects that I can contribute to? You can say, hey, well, actually, I have my own project that you can contribute to. There's another really great way to get started. So you need to make it friendly before you share it, before you even invite people to contribute. You need to make it friendly and welcoming. Another tip that you've probably heard me say 100 times, but I'm going to say it one last time. Probably won't be the last time, but one last time for the people at the back. Go to Insights tab, then Community Standards. Check that you've got all these ticked, and things like the contributing file, you can improve, and issue templates, you can keep improving all the time. Once you've got your project really friendly and you've tested it, and by testing, I don't mean automated tests, I mean get people to have a look at your project. Does the quick start guide make sense? Can they contribute? If it doesn't, keep improving further and further, and still make improvements later on, but at least try and make the biggest impact right at the beginning. Then get people contributing to your project. And you can have people help you with issues. So for example, this year with Hacktoberfest, we're encouraging non-code contributions. So documentation, automated testing, I count that as code because it's files changed within the repo, and you can track that via pull request. However, other things like UI, UX, sorting the backlog, going through the backlog of issues and removing duplicates and all those sorts of things really adds value to a project. And the key thing here is adding value. So if someone does do that, you can have a log file in the repo and you can record and log maybe just a table with the person's name with a link to their GitHub, the changes they made and the date. And the great thing is that will come through as a pull request, and you can say kind of going through the backlog and removing duplicates. And that's all adding value. It's about making the project and the community just improving little and often is super important. Talking about getting people to go through your backlog, your issues, make sure you have labels. You can put these on manually. You can automate some of these as well. So with ours, if they go into a certain folder, we give them a certain label, and others we add manually. Actually, you just got me thinking, we don't have one for files changed to our Kubernetes directory. So you should probably add an automation where if some files are changed in the Kubernetes directory, it'd be really good to add the label Kubernetes so people know that that's more of a Kubernetes DevOps task rather than some JavaScript task. So it's really good at a glance. You can see which files are changed so people can then go look at issues and look at pull requests related to their area, because all the projects nowadays have documentation, automated testing, DevOps configuration, like so many tools that'd be great to see at a glance what issues have been raised, and people can go and filter and find those. Because remember, these are clickable. You can click on these. We've only got 2 for Hacktoberfest, so we need to add some more as well. So any ideas, add them to the project and we can add the Hacktoberfest label as well. Another tip for maintainers, add more maintainers. Yes, you can't be the only one doing it. You have work, you have a family, you need to rest. Add people to your projects. Don't be scared. Any pull request can add value. It doesn't have to be perfect. It'll never be perfect. But if it can be good enough, then the next pull request after that can improve it further and further. So just make sure it's good enough. For example, if someone's testing your login page and they're writing some automation for that, well, they can check that the login button's there and they can log in successfully. Next time someone can check, can they log in not successfully? You're checking the boundary conditions. Take a GitHub action, for example, as well. In our Kubescape or GitHub action, we had this running on every file change within the repo. Then someone came along later on because that added value. But then someone came later on, Purdue, a big shout out to you, thank you so much, said, well, we only want to run this when files in the Kubernetes folder change. And that makes complete sense. But it still worked before, just wasn't very efficient. So we can keep making improvements further and further to make them better. So don't try and worry about getting everything perfect first time. So add maintainers, trust your maintainers. A great way to get maintainers is look at who's reviewing your pull requests. Then you can invite them to maintain the project with you, and therefore that improves the quality as well. You get a different perspective. I think that's super important. Having other maintainers will also help get things out of your head into the documentation, so therefore other people can aspire to being maintainers and they can look at how they can become a maintainer in the future. And to be honest, they can do 99% of the things a maintainer would do. They can give feedback on issues, they can get involved in discussion on GitHub discussions, and they can also review pull requests. They just can't merge it. So you could encourage that behavior, adding value from their perspective, and later on you can add them as maintainers as well. So maintainers, have fun, be welcoming, be inclusive. I appreciate your time is really precious, just like everyone else's time, but I appreciate when you're getting a lot of notifications, it's really important. So add maintainers, get help. And if you have any questions, you can ask in another project, another community, saying, well, I'm struggling with this. How can I improve this and make it better? And other maintainers will love to share that with you. In the GitHub Discord, we actually have a channel called Contributor Support. So people who are contributing, who are maintainers, they can get support from other people. It's interesting to see how other people handle different situations, especially if it's about the code of conduct or licensing and it's kind of on the fence. Get some advice from other people who have experience in the area, or at least can share their opinion, and you can make more of an informed decision. Don't DM anyone, don't get one perspective, get 4 or 5 perspectives, and you can make the decision that's best for you and your project. Enjoy Hacktoberfest. I really look forward to geeking out with you. I'll see you in the GitHub Discord, link in the description below.